Good morning. Welcome to Fearless and Free TV. I'm super excited to bring you a guest this morning I have actually just met. Her name is Julia Stubbe. And Stubbe, like Scooby, we were talking off camera about that. It's an easy way to remember how to pronounce her name. And she did a wonderful energy centering and clearing for both of us this morning before starting the show, which was just lovely. So good for the soul. And I'm glad she did that because I've been running around crazy this morning and didn't have a chance to do that for myself. And I usually set intentions for this show before the show ever gets started, that what comes through me and through my guest is what's best for all concerned. And she did that on our behalf. So I'm super grateful for that. And I'll be bringing her in shortly. Before I bring her out, I wanted to talk really quick about what I'm up to in the world. I am super excited. I'm creating something called the Conscious Channel. It's a new channel that I'm creating on YouTube. I've had this idea for a couple of years, and a friend of mine spurred me on to actually getting it started. And I'm also really enjoying the benefits of CBD. A friend of mine introduced me to HempWorks, and I know that's not for everybody, but for anybody who is looking for an additional way to generate some income, I found this to be great. So what I'm doing is combining the benefits of HempWorks with the benefits of a super channel, and inviting people to participate in that. So if you're interested, go ahead and shoot me a personal email to victoria@victoriareynolds.com to ask about the super channel. Now, what is this super channel? So this is what I'm excited about. This is an idea I've had, like I said, for probably 3 or 4 years. And what it is it's a collaborative, it's a cooperative of conscious channels. Now, those of us who know who we are as conscious channels, that we bring in messages from spirit, from source, from the guardians, from the galactics, and we're bringing in these messages on behalf of humanity. Since 2012, many people have had their spiritual gifts activated. I know 10 years ago, this was considered weird and woo-woo, and it's becoming more commonplace that normal, ordinary people are learning and having these spiritual gifts activated, of being able to communicate with non-physical energies on behalf of humanity. It's all part of the new world that we're creating. So this conscious channel, this super channel, the channel, as I'm calling it, is a collective of people who are conscious channels, all coming in together into one place to mutually support each other and to create the numbers of subscribers so that it's a win-win-win for everyone. So I wanted to share that with you. The CBD, again, has had amazing effects on what I know are my ascension symptoms. So if that interests you, shoot me an email for that as well, victoria@victoriareynolds.com. Or send me a message to contact@fearlessandfreetv.com. That works too. And now I'm going to go ahead and bring in this morning's guest, Julia Stubbe, and she has a really cool YouTube channel that I'm excited to hear about. And I'm really excited to hear about some of her services, because I know that she is one of the light workers, one of the light beings on this planet that is here to help birth this new earth reality that we're in the process of creating. So let's give a warm welcome to Julia. Good morning, Julia, again.
Good morning again, Victoria. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm excited about that super channel that you're coming up with. I'm sending my email now. So just, can you intuitively read it and let me know?
Yeah, I'm just getting it started. There's no content on it yet, but I just need to go back through my notes and read some of the messages that have come in recently. So I have some of my own content in there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's going to be really fun. So tell us about you. Who are you being in the world today?
Well, today, I consider myself a channel of all kinds of energies and information, and my personal being is about being within myself, keeping my channel really clear, and so that when I connect with source, that it's not cluttered by my blocks or my issues, that the information I get is pure. And that's where I start. So if anything shows up, I work with that right away and give it an opportunity to heal. I want to empower others to empower themselves to heal. It's like, people say they're the awakening journey, as that you're awakened. And it's like, I've been probably awoken since I was a child. as far as seeing the world differently. I like to call it the journey of wholeness, where we become whole within ourselves so that we can honor our authentic selves, love our authentic selves, and really, really shine bright. So that's where I would start with me. There's a whole lot of layers that, you know, we could go on that you might not even want to hear about, but we'll start there. If you want to play with that, we can go there.
Yeah, so I call that remembering who we are, remembering who we were when we came in.
Mm-hmm.
Our life kind of got in the way and fed us all of these layers of beliefs, and we start to peel off those layers of who we're not to come back to who we are.
Yeah, because as a child, I still remember.
Yeah,
as a child, I remember like 4 or 5 years old going out in the middle of the yard and just yelling up the skies, "Why did you leave me here? I really, I just want to come back." At that age, I already knew. And through my teenage years, it's like I would read about all the different religions and the rules. And, my best friend was reading romance novels, and I was reading UFOs and ET novels, back then in the 70s. So, and she said, "You really read the weirdest stuff." And it's like, well, it's just, I don't know. It's just what I did, so it's always been there in me.
Yeah. It's interesting. I talk to a lot of people who are like that, and there's a general consensus that we're starseeds. I know you've heard that term.
Yes.
Yeah. And I felt like that. It was like I felt like an alien in my own home, which I'm so grateful to meet other people who say the same thing.
Yeah. And well, there's also, it's like, because me growing up, I grew up in a single parent with a psychotic alcoholic mother. So there was when they were even together, there was a lot of violence. So I would tend to leave my body. And so there's also what we call walk-ins. So walk-ins come in and take you. So there's different, this is in my experience, and other people might have different experiences, but at the age of 18 months old, I had a walk-in come in to just keep my body alive, this physical vessel, because the previous lifetime, it was still like a couple years before I was born, I checked out as a toddler. And it's like, okay, this time we're doing what we need to keep her in her soul in this body and keep her on planet. And throughout that, because I would leave my body, and because of near-death experiences or actually dying. But then I made this agreement. I'm still not sure where that all came from, that I would let walk-ins come in and say, "Well, we would just like to experience this planet Earth through you. Would that be all right?" Sure, why not? How hard could that be? It's like, so as of a year and a half ago, I would say I am walk-in free. There are no more visitors living through Earth through me. They may be doing with somebody else, but I've actually been able to really honor my authentic self all by myself. And so it's like I'm not competing with anything. It's like, well, let's go check this out. And it's, it's like, that's that part where you think, okay, because I'm clairaudient as well. It's like, okay, where's that voice coming from? And it's like, so it could be different things. Does that make any sense whatsoever?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And, well, I don't share this with too many people, but I actually am a walk-in. So I get it.
Yeah. Well, there are people out there that still have that walk-in that's there. But it's like, so that's why I say your experience is different, where I actually coexisted, my soul coexisted with the souls of others through my.
Fascinating.
It is fast. And it's really strange, because it's like the experiences that I've had. It's like I've actually had 2 walk-ins at one time, and I didn't know it. And I had this female walk-in that was like telling me, it's like, "Oh, I think my purpose is done here. I'm just so tired. I'm not making a difference anymore. Can I go?" And I gave her permission. Well, here she was keeping this other walk-in in check. And he was just like way overpowering. And it's like, as soon as she left, my physical body was like, it took on the stuff, because he had this male dominant energy and he didn't know what to do with me. And it took me a while to get a handle on what was happening, because I just let that walk-in go. Where'd this walk-in come from? And I actually had to go to my council, my energetic spiritual council, your guides, and release them to that. And they actually had to like pull them away. And I needed assistance from another person who facilitates to be able to assist me with that, because it was that ingrained that he just didn't want to go. He just didn't want to leave.
Wow. So is that what people would call multiple personality disorder?
Yeah, I would think so. I think it
Yeah.
could be that. There's walk-ins, but then there's also different entities. So it's like, so entities are stuff you can just pick up on the planet, and it's, there's no pre-agreement there as far as that goes. With a walk-in, I believe you have these agreements, you've accepted that they're going to be working through you, or experiencing life through you. And when I got to counsel, I was like, well, why did you pick this guy? Well, you were his last resort, and we really thought you could handle it. Well, not so much anymore. And if you got anything else lined up for the future, we're just going to put that all on hold, because this was way more than I wanted to go with. So I'm not, so that's why I said I'm like walk-in free right now, which is pretty amazing.
It probably feels very liberating.
It is, because I don't have that constant, like, the conflict, like, well, I want to do this. It's like, well, I want to experience that. It's like, you know what? It's just me now. So you don't have to do that. And nobody has to keep me safe, because I'm at that, I am safe, and I know that.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So you're the first person I've met I've never had this discussion with someone before. This is fascinating. I love spirituality because it is so encompassing of so many things that.
Right. And everybody has a different reality, and everybody has a different experience. And it's like, for someone to say, oh, well, that's just not possible because I never experienced it. It's like, take a step back and, be open, because we've all experienced different lifetimes. If you go with Starseeds, we've all had different consciousness, different planets that we've come from. We all have these backgrounds. One of the things I do want to say, and this is just something that Spirit is guiding me, because it's like, a lot of people are going outside themselves to, like, well, what's my starseed heritage? Where did I come from? And it's distracting them from looking within inside themselves to really work on themselves now on this planet, and to be able to get to that journey of wholeness and heal that. And I have no qualms about looking, well, what's my starseed? And then using that as a reason I'm this way or that way, as opposed to actually looking within yourself, so that you can actually work with that and heal from that. And then once you start working with that, if you need to connect with that starseed energy, because I do that in some of my sessions, I'll go to the Galactic and we'll work with that to really heal it on that level as well, through the past lives. But it's like, and I get it, because people are looking for something and they're searching for something, and a lot of people need to do those steps, those outside steps, but everything we have that we need is within each and every one of us. It's not outside of us. So when we start going outside of us, looking for something else that can save or fix us or whatever, we're giving our power away.
Right. It's exactly. It's another way of almost like not going into personal self-responsibility. I don't want to say, it's not necessarily blame. I'm blaming.
Yeah, and it's not
my past. It's not that.
Yeah, it's not about that. It's not about that. But it's like,
it's almost a justification too in some cases.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and there's no judgment from me that's what people, because that may take them to their journey to go within.
Right.
But I'm just seeing it so much now, and it's really, really important for us to really go within and work within ourselves, because people say, well, what's my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing here? And I'm like, well, the first thing would be working with yourself and working on yourself and being kind. Just being kind and being in that place is more than you can imagine affecting the world. Because as you raise your vibration and look within yourself, you're raising your vibration. So your ripples, the vibrations of your ripples have risen as well. And that's touching other people. And then by being kind to other people, you raise their vibration, which changes their ripples. So you have no idea the quantum effect of the ripples of just those two things. So you don't have to, to make a difference, be doing something that's front page news.
Absolutely. It's about that's why I asked you this morning, how are you being, not what are you doing? Because it is all about who we are being. And who we are is what ripples out into the world. And as Buddha said so many years ago, that one light can light 1,000 candles.
Yeah.
So It's about who we are being, and remembering that who we are. I think, and I know I've said this before, that we all ultimately have exactly the same life purpose. I mean,
Yes.
we have our other, individual purposes, but that purpose is to remember who we are. Not to remember who we are as starseeds or past lives or any of that. Is to remember that we are love and light embodied as each one of us ultimately.
Yes.
And
We're a divine being.
Yeah.
We're a divine being, and we're all connected with each other. We're all one, even though we appear separate, but we affect everybody that we come in contact and beyond. So that's how that being all one, it's like that ripple effect. That's where that is, and we're all connected to each other. So
right.
I don't know how else to simplify it as far as that goes, because it's like, to me, that's the main game.
Right. I always tell people that we are all love having a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when we remember that, and as you were saying, stop looking outside of ourselves. Now, it's not stop, as you said, because that is part of it. Part of looking outside of ourselves and looking at different aspects of ourselves externally is a part of the process, for sure. So it's not either or, doing
right. But it's like, so
or.
example, like if there's a mirror or a trigger, something that triggers you, that's a mirror that allows you to see that, because the universe will give you that, saying, oh, here's an opportunity to either be irritated with the person who's making me irritated, or say, ooh, this is an opportunity for me to look inside myself and see what's the trigger is, so I can heal and go within. So we have those outside parts of us, because the universe knows that we're ready for this. We're ready to heal. And on a level, we're asking for it, believe it or not. We ask for it, that peace, because that peace is like saying, oh, I'm ready to heal. What can I show her that'll get her looking at me? And if the more you stuff it, the bigger it gets till you look at it.
Right. It's like the lesson that we keep having to learn until we actually learn the lesson. It's going to keep coming up. The little trigger point's going to keep getting pushed.
Yeah, and it becomes a big trigger point till you actually, if you don't look at it. I remember, in my younger days, it's like, when you go on those dating sites, oh, I want somebody that doesn't have baggage. And I'm like, oh, I got baggage. It's overflowing. Sometimes stuff pops out. I shove it back in, try and close it. But you got baggage all over the place. If you think I don't have baggage, now it's like, I carry pretty light load. It's like, I got like a little change purse with the stuff in, but it's like, because I've like looked at all that baggage,
Yeah.
But we all have it. We all have to go through that to really be able to like let it go, so that we can bring in, healing energies and become more whole.
Yeah. Unpack the stuff. But I remember when I first started having this level of my spiritual awakening back in 2008-ish. I had this aha that we spend the first half of our lives putting on layers, and then the second half taking them back off.
Okay.
So it's like unpacking the baggage.
Right. Well, and some people, it's to acknowledge that it's your baggage, that it's your stuff, that, that you have to look at it, that nobody's going to fix it for you, that you have to really take the time and have self-love and compassion for yourself to travel down that, because it's not always easy. It's not always easy with the baggage. It's like there's stuff that's happened that your body remembers, and it causes these blocks, and it remembers it, but the mind blocks it out, but the body holds it in there. And until you release it, it can come up with, in dis-ease, which, can make your body do things that you don't want it to do.
Right.
So it's about, letting all that go so that you can be healthy on all levels.
Yeah, and ultimately, I love that word when we really understand what disease means, which means dis-ease.
Yeah, uncomfortable. Your body's uncomfortable.
Yeah. So it's our body trying to tell us that it's out of ease and that it's asking for our attention. So what is it that it's asking us to take a look at? It's just fascinating to look at disease from that perspective, because it unravels what it really is. So rather than trying to put band-aids on it or put pharmaceuticals on it, being willing to take a look at it and ask, what is it my body's really trying to tell me?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I have a wonderful comment from one of our watchers, our viewers. He's saying, I have to find myself before I heal anxiety and pain. I need to concur. And yeah, that's really it, right? Finding
Well,
yourself before you can
yeah,
heal.
well, finding yourself and honoring yourself,
Mhm.
and having compassion with yourself, because it's like, it's like, oh, I keep doing this. Why do I keep doing this? Well, bring your awareness. Instead of beating yourself up over it, take little tiny steps to change that. It doesn't happen. Sometimes change doesn't happen overnight. But it's setting that intent. It's like, all right, well, when that shows up again, I'm going to let that go.
Mhm.
Or I'm going to release my anger. Instead of like with this person, I'm going to go and I'm going to sit with it and maybe scream into a pillow so I can let it out of my body somehow, that it doesn't harm others, and that I can maybe get a different perspective and look at it that way.
Yeah, and you know what I find interesting about that, about why is this happening to me? There's two different ways that people ask that question. So one way of why is this happening to me is like it's a judgment, and it's anger, and it's like resentment, that sort of thing. But if you stop and you ask that same question out of genuine curiosity,
Correct.
then you'll get an answer.
Correct. Yeah, you got to release the judgment for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
as well as for others, because it's like, and also not to worry about what everybody else thinks, because it's none of my business what anybody else thinks of me or thinks about what I'm doing. Because when you start worrying about what others are thinking of you, or if they're judging you, then you're giving your power away to them. And you don't, you really want to be able to empower yourself, because you have the power. Everyone has the power to heal themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I strongly believe that.
Absolutely. I do too. And that being concerned about what other people think, as you said, is incredibly disempowering.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps us from having that kind of relationship with ourselves that ultimately leads to being free of suffering.
Correct.
So one of the things that I've heard before, and I go back to every once in a while, is that life happens. How long we suffer is a choice.
Correct. It is a choice. It's every day is a choice. You can choose to start your day, like I choose to start my day with joy and beauty and love. And that's what shows up because I make that choice. And that doesn't mean hiccups don't happen once in a while, but it's your perspective of how you look at it. It's your choice of how you react to it. So when you're blaming somebody else for the way you're feeling, you're giving your power to them. So it's really important to look inside yourself to see what's happening. It's like, well, why do I feel this way? Why is this happening to me? Those are questions you're asking on a personal level out of concern for yourself and out of caring for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're asking why is this happening to me from inside ourselves, and from real genuine curiosity, and our body, our mind, our spirit will give us the real answer to why it's happening. Because it's happening because there's something that's coming up that needs to be resolved. Where the other, why is this happening to me, is external. Like it's a reason to blame someone or something for the reason that it's happening. So it isn't even the question itself. It's about whether we're asking the question externally or whether we're asking the question internally.
Yeah. So whether we're in our heart or whether we're up here, or ego's like we're standing next on our shoulder, it's about really getting in your heart space and really coming from that place.
And really genuinely wanting to know why.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's a really invaluable differentiation between the two. Same question, but coming from a different place. And rather than coming from blame and anger and resentment. So it seems that the natural default is to go into blame and victim and all of that. That's part of what I call the fear-based reality that we've been living in. Collectively, that's what we default to, just because that's the reality we've been living in. This new world that we're creating is not that. Then this new world that's based in love that we're integrating is where the default is to go inside.
I agree.
A loving answer. Right?
Yes, I agree. I definitely agree with you.
So I would like to know more about, and and this was part of your bio too, that we're creating a new reality, creating an entirely new world. And those of us that have really been paying attention, this is, I've been talking about this for years. Clear back in 2011, 2012, we're all like, yay, 2012, new world. And it didn't feel like it happened, even though it did, because what we experienced in 2012 was the 3D, 4D convergence. So we started experiencing the world very differently.
Mm-hmm.
But that what's happened in the last 10 years has been like a bridge to this new world that we're creating. It's the interim between fear and love, the interim between competition and cooperation, the interim between it's like the fiat money system and this quantum love-based money system. So 2012 was this amazing bridge between realities. And now that 2021, I don't know if you're feeling it, but it feels very different.
Yeah, we're in the muck of it, because in order for us to move forward, it has to be disabled, disabled, taken apart.
Mm-hmm.
And for those that have the possibility of seeing and becoming in that new awareness, this has to happen, because we've been programmed and we've been controlled for eons. So it's huge. And when you set a date for something, it's like, it's not gonna, you don't wake up the next day. It's like, it's a process. It's just like the healing process. It's like, and you just have to be in the moment, trust in the moment, and just know that it's all going to be okay. It's like, I've been on this path for like 30 some years, and it's like, I'm just amazed that I'm seeing what's happening now in this lifetime. I really didn't think it would happen in my lifetime, because it's like, oh, we have the 2000, we have the 2012, right. We have this. It's like, yeah, yada, yada, yada. It's like, that they're shifting and changing, but it's like, I want the final result right now. And it doesn't work that way.
No. And I explain to people all the time, the ascension started in the 1960s. It's not, it isn't just, whoa, we've all ascended. It's a process. And it's a process of, so you and I know about what it takes about processing our own lives, so doing the shadow work and working, going inside and doing all that. We're now going to start doing that collectively. The collective consciousness is now starting to process the collective story. So it isn't an overnight thing. It is, and it isn't for a reason, because it's a process. We don't just go from here to the other side of the country like that. It's a journey to get from one place to another. And so creating this new earth reality is the same thing. It's a process of going from the old world to the new world, and loving the journey that we're in, creating that. And and it is like unpacking our collective baggage, right? Because old systems have to collapse, old ways of doing things have to collapse, so that we can create a new reality and new systems and new programs that are love-based rather than fear-based. And so those of us who have been on this spiritual journey for a while recognize that the collapse is a vital part of the process. It's correct. It's the breakdown before the breakthrough. It's the butterfly or the caterpillar going into the cocoon and melting into nothing before it recreates itself as the butterfly. So that's what's happening right now. And there is going to be more collapse happening over the next couple of years.
Yes. And
that's what it is.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to say is, it's like, well, people think it's like they're seeing all this darkness and all that. And that's because there's more light, and we get to see the darkness. The darkness has always been there. It just hasn't had the light shine on it. So it's like, that's why it's got to come to surface. Otherwise, the darkness would just sit there and just da 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 da. where this is the opportunity. We're shining the light on it so it can be transmuted and transformed and or let go of, so that we can bring in new light and bring in new energies and new systems.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And there are a lot of us who have been aware of that, like you were saying, it isn't that the darkness is new. The light is rising. So as the light rises, the darkness looks darker. It's always darkest before the dawn, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as of 12/21, we've entered now into the age of Aquarius, and the light coming onto the planet is so light that the shadows look really dark. But when the light rises enough, the shadows will start to dissipate, because it just does. That's
Yes,
how it works.
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So it's all of us learning how to raise our own light vibration, because
Yep.
we are all part of the transmutation process. This is what we've been saying. We are the ones we've been waiting for, and be the change we want to see in the world, because
Yep.
it really is about us individually.
Correct.
Right.
Definitely.
And we are the light.
Yes.
Master teacher Yeshua, as I prefer to call him, Jesus, talked about each one of us being the light. And it's time for all of us to, take the bushel off and just
shine. Just the light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
We are all the light, and we are all the light. Yeah. So what else? Do you have any programs that you want to share with us?
Well, I run a group transformation program a couple times a year, and it's a 5-week program. And what we do is we work on building spiritual infrastructure. And what is that? That is merging and connecting with your higher selves. It's connecting with your 12 aspects of soul. It's merging with your light body Merkabahs, your ancestral teams, plus other processes as far as that to go. So for us to be able to hold the light, there's a structure to it. And then the program's also organic. So depending on who signs up for it, Spirit will say, well, this group could use this. So it's different every time. And I have people who have taken it a couple different times, and each time they get something new out of it, or they get a deeper level of consciousness. And that starts, I vary the days, but this next one's starting April 27th. It's 2:00 in the afternoon Eastern time. Okay. There's an early special price right now. So if you sign up, I believe by April 17th, it's $177. So you save $90. So it's 5 weeks. We record it. There's something else I was going to say.
That is such reasonable tuition, by the way.
Yeah, I try to keep it affordable. I want it. It's like I really keep it affordable, and it's just, it's limited. The size is limited, so I only take up to 8 participants as far as that goes. And we don't do video; we just do it audio, and we run through processes, and it's just magic. It's like I've been doing it for a little over a year now, and I just see how people have opened their gifts up. They've started working on themselves, because we clear a lot of stuff as far as that goes. So that's what's coming up. I just am finishing up a quantum clearing series, which if you're interested, you'll be able to get the audio available for it soon. But that was, we cleared the J seals and the crucifixion implants that were there, as well as crystal strand implants that came from the Atlanteans, the Lemurians, the Mu, and the Starseeds. Mm-hmm. We just did which was fascinating. They showed me, because it's like they showed me how this is. So it was about changing. They use the word portal, but when we think portal, we think like a hole. But this was it's like an electrical cord. I looked at this like we're a computer. So it's like you have all these filaments plugged into your sacrum, your tailbone, and it's picking up all this stuff from your past lives. And it's not the positive stuff. It's all the negative stuff that's feeding in, and it's feeding into your bone marrow through all your blood cells, and it's creating that. So what they showed me to do this last week was we facilitated where we released these filaments in the tailbone, and we recreated new computer filaments or cord in through your solar plexus into your power center to empower you with all the positive things to balance that out. And so it reduced the cord. We did, because it's like one of my participants said, "You're just not going to yank it out of there, are you?" I said, "Oh, no, we're not doing that. We're asking for grace and ease here." But when they showed me to do this, it's like they channel it. So it's like I'm not always 100% sure where we're going to go with it. When they do this, they just said, you've worked on this in a different way. So now bring it to others in a way that they can understand. So, and I have one more session this Saturday where we're working with really connecting with those multidimensional bridges as far as that goes. And they have, that's level 1 or something, and they have another module that they are working on that's going to be out there shortly. Oh, there is no time or space, but as soon as I can pull it together, I will. But I'm just always grateful and humbled how, they utilize me and channel through me to be able to assist other people in a really magical way.
Yeah, this is such an extraordinary time to be alive, because so many people have these spiritual gifts that have been activated, and the reason that we have them is to be of service to the entire planet.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't about us at all. I mean, there
Correct.
are some people who are charging ridiculous amounts of money for it, but it's really about being of maximum service to the whole of humanity.
Right. Like
that's why we have these gifts, and the magic that's coming onto the planet is so extraordinary.
Yeah, because my YouTube channel is a combination of healing processes, which are easy peasy lemon squeezy, I like to call them that, guided meditation, activations, anything that I've worked with on a personal level to get to where I am. And then there's also the galactic channeling or the transmissions. So that's my way of giving back. And then I co-host a radio show, A Call to Heal, with Carolee Schloth. We're taking a little hiatus right now due to some personal reasons, but that's another way we give back. We facilitate a healing or a reading for 3 of our callers every Monday night live. So it's the way we give back. So when I check in, because it's like, this is my livelihood too. It's the way I support myself. So, and my time, and I've taken the classes, I spend time. It's not like, it just came, it's like, it's not like it was all, I had to work for it too, as far as that goes through those things. So, but I always want to give back. I always want to do that,
Yeah, and I love that. Here's the thing. I love that you are asking for a tuition and investment. It isn't a huge amount of money, but the intent, it feels like, is to keep it. What I tend to use is making it available for the people who need it the most.
Correct.
Right. The other thing too, and I've seen some people complain about, why are you charging money for your spiritual services? It's absurd that anyone even asked that question. Because as you were saying, this is hard-earned wisdom and education.
Right. It's like
doctor not expect to pay the doctor. Why would you not go to a spiritual teacher and expect to not pay for the services? It's exactly the same thing. It's that energetic exchange. There
right.
has to be an energetic exchange.
And it's like, when we going up, it's like, we paid like for our Reiki master instruction, our IET, our matrix energetics, or whatever modalities for study. We've bought books. We've paid for this. We've put so much more time than anybody can imagine into this. So we value our worth. Mm-hmm. And it's important to value your worth. It's like, okay, so I got to honor that, because it's like, oh, well, you know what? Your doctor loan was all paid off. It's like, I don't need to pay you now, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, they invested in themselves. Mm-hmm. So others will invest in them, right. So it's kind of the same thing. It's like, I'm investing in myself. Did I ever think that I would be facilitating for others when I first started out? That was not my goal. My goal was to really become whole and become healthy and become happy and allow my authentic self to be. And then it turned into this other stuff as far as that goes.
Right.
Yeah, it's a hot topic when people say it's like, well, oh, Jesus is watching you. You're going to go to hell because you're charging. And I'm like, have a nice day. Thank you.
Well, okay, so here's one to think about. One of the parables that he talked about was using your gifts. Do you remember the parable where the master rebuked the servant who didn't actually grow his gifts?
I vaguely remember. You're probably more up on this than I am.
No, for some reason, I remember all my Bible stories. I think when I look back at my childhood, I see that I was meant to be a spiritual teacher because I remember all of them. I grew up fundamentalist Mormon, so I remember the Book of Mormon stories too, the Bible stories, the Book of Mormon stories, and I remember them, and I asked my parents about them, and the people in my community couldn't answer my questions because I had such deep wanting to understand at a deeper level than the adults couldn't explain. And so I remember those. And there was a parable that he taught about the 3 servants that he gave gifts, talents to, and whether they used them or not. And the one servant who didn't use his gifts and didn't use his talents got rebuked by the master of the house because he didn't use them and he didn't increase them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that. I couldn't tell you where it is, but I do remember you saying that. So I do remember it, but I just it's like my brain doesn't retain all that knowledge. I have a different encyclopedia set in my head than you do.
It's because you have a different purpose, right? So you're remembering what's aligned with what your soul's purpose is through you. That's why you remember what it is that you remember. For me, this is about being aligned with what my soul's purpose is through me. So I remember that. Some of the other stuff I don't remember. But the spiritual stuff I do. And so that's why I'm bringing that up is that, another one is, it is God's desire to give us all the gifts of the kingdom. We were all meant to be prosperous.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with that.
All of this unworthiness stuff, that's people's personal issues that they got to work through. There's their own issues that they need to work through.
And you can do that through inner child work. You can do it, but by switching and clearing your beliefs where it was programmed. It also might be ancestral line work. There's so many different ways you can approach that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there is a lot of free content that's out there to get that process started. When we're ready to go deeper and deeper and deeper, then there are programs and professionals who assist with that process. So it's about knowing when you as an individual are ready to go deeper into the process and be willing to invest in yourself, because this is a self-investment.
Yes, it is. Definitely. And the investment comes with your time. It could come with books. It can be taking classes. It's really loving yourself enough to trust that what you're doing, you're just following the breadcrumbs or the seeds that are just going to blossom and bloom, and to enjoy being in the moments of that, as opposed to, well, what's the garden going to look like when it's all planted and it's all blooming? And it's like, just one bloom at a time. It's good to enjoy that and to really savor that and be grateful for that journey, because the journey teaches us so much about ourselves and gives us so many opportunities to really, really shine our light even brighter.
So I'm having this memory right now, as we didn't come here to get to the destination. We came here for the journey. Correct.
I agree with that.
What I find fascinating is that the way that I grew up being told that we came here for the destination, which I find fascinating. It was like we were born so that we could go to heaven. And these people in my childhood were miserable. They couldn't wait to die to go to heaven. And I'm like, but we wanted so badly to be here and experience this experience. That was one of the dichotomies I had a difficult time with as a kid. It was like, well, if we just came here for the destination of dying and going to heaven, why did we have a battle in heaven to be here in the first place?
Correct.
Because that's just the way that I was raised. That there was this, the battle between the light and the darkness so that we could have a human experience. And I had a hard time grasping that dichotomy. And we came here for the experience.
Yes. Yes. And
So
it's
let's
like,
make the best of the
yeah,
experience.
it's like, yeah, well, we're on the other side, and it's like, okay, I'm ready to go down to earth. I'm ready to get there. So who wants to experience a little betrayal and, to really be able to understand? Oh, sign me up. I'll take some of that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like, so
sure.
we choose what we haven't really. The way I look at it from my perspective is that we come down each time with a list, like our to-do list of what we want to learn, what we would like to become. And sometimes we don't get to everything on the list, and we have the option to repeat that in the next lifetime. That's our
Yeah,
choice as far
yeah.
as that goes.
What it's reminding me of is I remember when my kids were born, writing a birth plan, right? It's kind of the new thing before you go to the hospital, you have a birth plan. We kind of have that before we come here. We have a birth plan. We have a life plan that we create for ourselves. These are, we have certain people that we want to meet while we're here, that we have soul contracts with, and we make contracts with ourselves on what it is we want to experience. And so we come here, and we might not experience all of that. And maybe the experience we thought we would have is a lot more difficult than the one that we had on our life plan.
Well, and I want to chime in here because it's like there's free wills involved. So you might have an agreement with another person, and I'm just going to use my mother as an example, because she was a psychotic alcoholic, and there was a lot of violence on all different levels. And I remember after she passed away, it's like I had a conversation with God, and I said, seriously, was I like psychotic when I chose this life? Why would I have chose this? I just really want to know. And I had some anger issues with it. And I'm like, I just don't understand this. And literally it was 2 days later, I went to a holistic fair, and there was a reader there, Diane Whitmore, and she trained under John Edwards, I think his name is.
Mm.
And I usually don't go that route, but it's like something told me, and I listened, and it's like my mom came through, and I could feel her energy. And the first thing she said she was sorry, because we did the whole forgiveness process before she was. And the first thing that comes out of Diane's mouth, channeling my mother, is the plan got out of control. It's like I had all this other stuff, and it's like, it wasn't supposed to be that bad. I'm sorry. I didn't ask Diane anything. I didn't ask her a single thing. I just said, okay. She said, your mom's here. And I said, okay. And she said she's sorry. And then she channeled that message. And it was like, God worked through my mom, through Diane, to give me that message. And it was just about free will and other people's choices. So you can have the script, you can have the plan, but because of they have their own script and they have their own plan. So it can get convoluted pretty quickly. So you really have to just have compassion for all the players in the game, because they're working through stuff that maybe they weren't expecting either, and be grateful for whatever lesson, because it's about the love or the lesson. Be grateful for that love or the lesson that you get from it, as opposed to blaming it or holding on to it and not moving forward.
Right. And then you carry that disease through your entire life. So what I love about that is that when she had that message for you on behalf of your mom, that actually helped clear your mom's karma.
Right. Well, it was like, to me, it was like she's listening to me, and it's like, but my mom and I, she had been diagnosed with lung cancer, and she was in Johns Hopkins, and I went in, and I gave that woman a week. I gave her a week to live. She hung on for 2 years because she needed that forgiveness process as much as I did.
Yeah.
And forgiving somebody, it's not always easy. I'm letting you know, it took 2 years. That whole process took, and I probably started it before those 2 years. But so for those who are going through that process of forgiveness and they think they cannot forgive, it's a process. It's not like one day you wake up and it's like, oh, I'm going to forgive for all this, da, 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 da. You got to work through it. You really got to work through it. And it's easier to forgive someone when they're still here on the planet, so that you can do it in the physical. It doesn't mean it can't be done after they've crossed over, but it's freeing yourself. It's giving you that freedom, and it's a gift to yourself. I mean, it's a gift, as whether however the other person takes it, it doesn't matter. It's a gift for yourself, and it doesn't mean you don't forget and you don't have the lessons that you learned with that. it's about
Right.
really freeing.
It's about letting go of the attachments to the experience.
Correct. Yes.
Because when we're not forgiving other people, we're actually dragging their baggage around with us along
Correct.
with our own.
Yeah. It's like they're paying free rent in our head and other places in our body.
I'm not going to carry your baggage for you anymore. It's like I got my own. And forgiveness, yes, it is a process. So to say, oh, I forgive that person, I don't want to say that's false forgiveness, but it really kind of is. It's just kind of shoving the issues down without actually going through the real process.
Right.
And self-forgiveness is a huge part of that.
Right. Because you played a part of it too. Once I could connect it that, and this is before, the plan got out of hand. This is why my mom was still alive. Once I realized it's like, you know what, you picked your mom. You choose your parents.
Mm-hmm.
You chose this experience. So instead of feeling the pain of it, be grateful for the lessons and how can you utilize this to assist others, and have that empathy, not only for yourself, but for others because you've experienced it. So with my clients, it's like, I would say, 90% of them have a similar experience that I experienced. And that's because I can have empathy without judgment for them and really listen and really can see what they're seeing because and they can get it because I've seen it. So I can explain it from my perspective. And it's like, wow, she really gets it, which builds that foundation for them to be able to work with me.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what people need. And people, to be able to work with someone who understands free of judgment.
Right. Yeah. Because there's no judgment. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like, if you want, it's like, I have lived so many different lives in this lifetime of decisions and things that, they could be judged. All right. But if I've learned from them, I've grown from them. And it's like, if I had a do-over, there might be a few things I might want to not learn, or I might want to learn a different way.
Right.
But it's all about everything that I've experienced makes the whole of who I am now. And I love who I am now. I'm happy with who I am now. I'm continuing to heal. I mean, because things still every once in a while show up that I thought I dealt with. But I can, honestly say it's like, this is my authentic self. I'm honoring who I am. I love who I am. I love being alive. I couldn't always say that. Or even and believe it, and through it, I got there.
Yeah. And isn't it extraordinary when you get to that place? And the things still happen that, as you were saying, sometimes what you think is an issue that's done comes back up again for another level of healing. And that's why it's cleaning that up, is to go just do another level of it.
Yeah, it's like the onion. You get deeper and deeper. You get deeper and deeper. And it's like, but as you go deeper and deeper, I think it's easier to let it go because you've done the hard stuff's on the outside. Like those outer layers are like, you got to really work through them. But once you get in there, it's like, oh, this is like, it's painful, but it's like, it's there, but it's little in aspect that it's not so tough.
And you've gone through the process of knowing how to process it. It's like, oh, I know what to do with that. Oh, I see why this is coming up. Oh, because I've been there before, been there, done that. I know what to do with this. So what I kind of see is that initially for me, it's like the surface stuff is super easy. It's like, oh yeah, I can kind of see. But then you go through like the deep upheaval almost. I mean, I remember when I started this work, I was having like inner temper tantrums because of the stuff that was coming up for me to deal with. Now, then after going through that, it's like, oh, and not that I don't still have some of those, we have still grief that comes up. And being able to then move through the grieving and being able to say, you know what, I see this and I'm experiencing this. I'd really like to move through this as quickly as possible. So I went through something like that over the last couple of months. I'm like, okay, team, I don't want to be in this any longer than I have to. I'm bringing out my healers. I'm bringing out my teachers, and let's move through this as quickly as possible so that we don't have to drag it out, because it doesn't have to take years.
Correct.
If you're
it's so accelerated now. Things can happen just like that. We're at that quantum level. It's amazing and magical.
And it's really about saying, okay, let's do this. Like I see this as issues in me that need to be resolved. So let's move through it. I don't want to piss around with this. So let's just get it done. And then to be on the other side of it, then that's a whole nother level of liberation that comes with that.
Yes, absolutely.
I had one other thing I want to mention before we close out, just to everybody. So my parents have both passed. My mom's been gone for 21 years. My dad's been gone for about 15. But I remember after my dad died, I did not have a good relationship with him. I remember when I was a little girl, and hearing in my religious teachings that God had my life all planned out for me, and that God chose my parents for me. And like you, I was like, why would God do that to me? He is mean. God is mean for putting me in this. Well, it wasn't until about 10 years ago that I realized God didn't choose that life for me. I did.
Yes.
I made that life choice, and that I chose to put myself in that very difficult environment so that I could learn the lessons I needed to learn so that I could be who I'm here to be. But what's interesting about that is after my dad died, and so I'm writing a book about my childhood. He was a villain in my childhood. He came to me in a dream, and I asked him, this is while I was in the middle of doing this, the first part of this really difficult processing. And I said, why is it so difficult to process your life? And he said to me, do it now while you can. Because if you can process it now, the rest of your life gets to be peaceful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's really difficult to do it after you die. So do it now.
Good to know.
So for anybody who's wondering, yes, processing the suffering, processing the pain, processing the story can be painful and can be difficult. It is so well worth the effort. And do it now so that the rest of your life can be peaceful.
Amen.
Yeah. So before we close out, I know you said you have a free gift for the audience, and I'm going to.
Right. I am making available.
Over here, I'm looking for the banner.
So I'm assuming you're going to put this link in your comments somewhere in your description. So if you click on this link, it's going to ask you for like your email, and it's going to ask for Victoria's name, like who was the host. So you want to put Victoria in there. And once you fill that out, you'll be added to my email list. And then when you click on it, it's going to take you to a recording of the Blue Star seeding journey. And I facilitated this back in December on December 21st. And it was an amazing experience. It's probably like 50 minutes in length. So you want to be able to get comfortable and listen to it. So I'm gifting that to you, and I hope you enjoy it. Because I really enjoyed channeling it, and it was really the beings that were there, and the human beings plus all the other beings. It was a magical experience. So that's my gift.
Thank you so much for that. So for those of you who are watching, I will put Julia's contact information and her gift information in the comments once this is loaded up onto my YouTube channel. And you have a YouTube channel as well, which I forgot to put in the banner. So why don't you tell everybody about your YouTube channel?
Okay. Well, actually, I have Julia Stubbe, the Galactic channel, and that's the one we talked about a little bit earlier that has healing processes, tools for empaths, guided meditations, activations. It also has Starseed or light language transmissions and channeling. I've just started a new channel that I'm co-creating with Lumi Pakistan. She's in Finland. And they're called light language shorts. And so I channel, we're doing the shorts for the YouTube less than a minute, but we were guided that they just have to stay under 2.5 minutes. So you'll have some shorts. So are they briefs or are they bikinis? I don't know. And then we have the ones like they channeled 2 different songs for me, and they're going to go over the 60 seconds. Which will be coming up soon, but we just launched our second video today. So she takes and adds music to it and these amazing computer graphics to it that make it so much fun. So you can get to that through my YouTube channel under the channels, the featured channels. It's called Light Language Shorts.
I love that.
And it's so much fun. It's like, when I listen to it, because I don't usually go back and listen to my channelings, I'm like, oh my gosh, did that come out of me? Which was my 85 group is who I work with. They're high benevolent beings, and there's 85 of them, and they work throughout the whole galaxy. Because in a previous life, I was a translator, and like a peace offering, I would really work with all these different communities. So when they're channeling through me, I see like a dozen of them around the table. They're like, and the other 70 something are out there. And my head will go like this as they're coming out. And when they're both two of them or more talking at the same time, it's really probably hysterical to watch me do this, because it comes out. And it's like, so I've asked them to just try and calm down and limit what's coming through. But there have been times that people have actually heard where they've heard 3 different beings coming through me at once.
Oh,
so
that is fascinating.
Yeah, it blows me away. It's like, but this new channel, as you guys can check it out. We're looking, we hit 24 subscribers, and we've only been out there for since almost a week.
Okay.
And I would love the support. And it's like, check out my other, the Galactic channel. And it's like, I'm all about it. It's like, and if there's something that you are interested that you're not finding on my Galactic channel, like you would like, like a process for a specific thing. Like I have one for addiction. I have one for child, inner child, self-love. But if there's something that comes up, it's like, well, it would really be great to have a process on this. Hey, shoot me, leave me a comment, or, shoot me an email. It's like, I'll be happy to put something else out there as well. But all the basic ones are out there that I utilize to get where I am. So it's just a starting point for you.
Right. Yeah. This is just such an amazing, like I've said, it's such an amazing time to be alive right now.
Absolutely. I was just telling that I spent the day with a friend yesterday, and it's like, I am so grateful to be alive, to be able to be in this experience. Yes, there's chaos going all around us, but we can be in this moment of now and be in this joy and experience this love that we have for each other and give gratitude. It's like, how does it get easier than that? It's like, it just gives me such joy in my heart to be able to have that experience with people I love, and to be able to touch people's lives in a way that makes a difference, to empower them. So I'm just always full of gratitude every single day.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for you, Victoria, for having me. And I really want to know more about that channel that you got coming up.
I need to really define what this vision is that I have, because I want it to be a place where people go to. I see, this is what I'm hearing. I want it to be a place that people go to where they get to experience the magic.
Yeah. Well, we just set that intention.
We're now finally embracing the truth. Hello, took us long enough, that we are not alone in the universe. That the galactic support that we have on our planet right now is, for lack of a better word, out of this world.
Absolutely. Yes.
We have beings from all over the universe, from all over the galaxy and beyond, that are here in our field supporting us right now, and cheering us on and wanting to be
and
here.
Grateful. And they're grateful for us. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's like they love us so much.
What we do affects the entire galaxy. It's not, it's not like, what one of us does affects everybody on the planet. What we do on the planet affects the entire galaxy. And what happens in this galaxy affects the entire universe. That's when we.
It's the ripples. It's the ripples.
Is. So us, one little infinitesimal speck, affects the entire universe.
Yeah.
And so that's why they're all here, because it's kind of like, yeah, Earth's got this. Like, we're shifting realities, and this doesn't happen very often. And so the support that we have, being able to shift the entire experience, and literally we're creating an entirely new world, and we get to each be part of that creation process. I'm calling it like beyond co-creation. This is intercreation. Yeah. Every one of us is creating it. And to be able to consciously be a part of that is so amazing. So amazing. And to consciously know that there are other beings that are supporting us, and those of us that have the capacity to communicate on their behalf for the rest of humanity. So anyway, that's what this channel is all about. I'm seeing it as a channel where all these people can come. They can share their out of this world gifts, and that humanity can come to be inspired of what is really possible for humanity. So one of the messages I got from the guardians, I call them the guardians, the individuals I work with are the guardians of light. They're a group of ascended masters and archangels that are protecting the planet Earth. They are sworn to protect planet Earth. And they were telling me back in January that every person who has the capacity to have a show needs to have a show.
Mm-hmm.
Every person who has the capacity to write a blog or write a book needs to write. We need to be the new news. We need to flood the airwaves with possibilities so that we become this positive stuff is what becomes the new normal.
Yeah, they told me it's time for you to be seen. It's time for you to put yourself out there. It's like, and I started with the radio show, which is like 5 or 6 years between the two shows. And then they had the YouTube channel is like a little over a year old. And then they said, we want you to do interviews. And I'm like,
right.
Okay.
I got the same thing. Yeah. So a year ago was you got to get your show on the road. So how many people started their shows during COVID? A ton of people started shows during COVID. We all got off not me, because I've been on camera for a long time, but a whole lot of people got off their camera fear because we all had to start being seen. Mm-hmm. Then it started turning into interviews. I was not expecting, like you, not expecting to go that direction. But this world that we're creating is all about cooperation. We
Absolutely.
all succeed and we all win when we help each other succeed and when we help each other win. That's part of the new reality we're creating. So interviewing other people on each other's shows is all part of the new world. We're all in mutual support of each other. There's no competition here.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. It's like we're supporting each other, and if you think it's a competition, then you're looking in the wrong places because you're not in your heart space.
Old news, old world.
Old news, old world.
That's old news. This new world is, like you said, it's all heart-centered. It's all heart-based. So I want to thank you for being here. We've had some wonderful conversations going on in the chat over here. Kathy Mason, of course, we love her. Thank you, Kathy. All of us who know you love you. And all of the people who don't know you love you too. They just don't know you yet. And some beautiful comments. Mystic Mimi, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Kathy, Kathy, let's experience the magic. Kathy's all about magic, which is, she brings out the magic in all of us that know her. Mystic Mimi, thank you again. Thank you. And Chess Moves, thank you again. Great broadcast. So I just want to thank all of you for watching and commenting and being here, because this is all about mutual support. So even those of you who are in the chat, you may not realize that just being here energetically is supporting the entire collective consciousness.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate everybody that tuned in live, because it's like it shifts all the energy to a different vibration. And so you guys are doing a great job too. So thank you for your input and your support.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you all so much. And thank you, Julia. Stubbe, like Scooby, for those of you who are wondering how to pronounce your last name. And the other thing I wanted to mention is thank you, is that the small intimate groups that you do. I bet the people in your intimate groups get really connected to each other.
Yes, we've made some of them have made some nice friendships, and it gives them a way to connect with that. And I'm just always just grateful. It's like, and
it feels like it creates a really safe environment for people.
Yes.
Also, it creates that.
Because I encourage questions. I encourage, to reach out to me. We're available for each other if you need it. And there really is a lot of magic that happens. I'm always grateful when Spirit says, okay, we want you to do this program. Okay. I will.
Yeah. And that's it. It's just following Spirit's guidance. And that's where we are. And it's changing so fast that it's important that all of us just listen. Okay, go. Because it's new programs and new gifts and new directions constantly. So I don't know if you've noticed, but 2021 literally is like being on a high-speed train. So everybody buckle up and go.
Yep. Yeah, I was buckled up in 2012. It's like now I need I need a shoulder harness and all kinds of other gadgets to keep me in my body.
Yeah. It's crazy, and it's amazing. So thank you all for watching. Thank you, Julia, for being here and sharing the gift that you are with all of us.
I appreciate you and all that you are as well.
Thank you. And I'm going to. Yes, I'm still new at live streaming. I need a second one of me to man all the links happening over here. And so yeah. So be sure to visit Julia's website, pick up your free gift. And as always, remember to hold your light so high that others can't help but see their own light. And be fearless, be fabulous, and be free. Yeah.